Hi, my name is Angel. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about some 2026 book releases that I am excited for, mostly. I have this kind of divided. We're going to do horror and thriller, and then I have books. Whoa, that was a bug that just flew right into the camera, if you saw that. Anyways, I have book releases that I personally am interested in, like 100% will be reading. These are going on my TBR. And then I have some that I want to talk about in case any of you guys are interested in. And I am not quite sure if I'm going to pick these up, but I might, focus on some early reviews and then decide from there if I want to add them to my TBR. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. I will be starting with the horror books, and I am starting first with the releases that are on my TBR that I will 100% be reading. Maybe not in 2026, but at some point in the future. These first four I will absolutely be reading because I do have arcs of all of these. There will most likely be an arc reading vlog of all of these, so if you're interested in seeing my thoughts on them, look out for that in early 2026. This first one here is called Bedrot Baby. This is by Wendy Dalrymple. Being a sugar baby isn't all it's cracked up to be. After a failed art career and a failed relationship, Baby has lost her way. She's adrift in the post-Y2K, pre-Facebook world and stuck in her Florida hometown selling stolen goods online and working as a sugar baby. Even though she's hustling hard, there's still never enough money to pay the bills, and her long-suffering roommate is ready to put her out on the streets. One night, after a bad date with her sugar daddy, Baby is assaulted by a mysterious woman in a parking lot. The attack leaves her disoriented and exhausted, so Baby takes to her bed to lie there and rot, like for real. With every passing day, Baby's looks and health decline in strange and horrific ways. Soon it becomes apparent that the strange woman who assaulted her had something to do with her declining state. Baby needs to find her attacker, reclaim her life and her beauty, and get her shit together once and for all. But at what cost? It says it is a horror meditation on self-discovery through self-destruction and the real cost of self-image, self-esteem, and beauty. So it sounds like there's going to be some commentary in here that I'm really interested in, and it also kind of sounds like maybe a little bit of transformation horror and focusing on a young woman going through a moment of discovery in her life. This one is expected to be published on February 10th of 2026. The next one I think is another kind of like feminist horror. This is Trad Wife by Saratoga Schaefer. This one is also expected to come out February 10th, 2026. When Camille Deming isn't cooking, cleaning, or homesteading in her picture-perfect country farmhouse, she's posting about her trad wife lifestyle for her online followers. She takes inspiration from other trad wives on social media aspiring to be like them, but Camille's missing a key, a baby. And contrary to what she posts online, things with her husband, Graham, have been strained. Pressured by her eager followers, Camille fears that without a baby, her relationship will suffer and her social media will never grow out of its infancy. When Camille discovers a mysterious decrepit well in the wheat field behind her house, she makes a wish for a baby. Afterwards, she has unsettling experiences that she convinces herself are angelic in nature, and when she's visited one night by a strange creature, her wish comes true. Camille's pregnancy announcement gets more engagement than anything she's ever posted, so what if Graham's reaction is lukewarm? Camille's life is finally falling into place. Never mind that her pregnancy is developing freakishly rapidly and she's suddenly craving raw meat. I guess it's basically about this woman that gets impregnated by some sort of demonic creature, and that sounds really interesting to me, so I will definitely be picking this one up. The next one we have is called An Impossibility of Crows by Kirsten Kashchok. This is expected to publish March 3rd of 2026. In this daring and evocative tale, Agnes Cron, a chemist trained in Philadelphia, returns to her childhood home after the death of her father. Just a stone's throw from the haunted fields of Gettysburg, the small town of Latort, Pennsylvania, is where the Cron family has lived for 6 generations, bound by twisted folk wisdom and an uncanny kinship with the crows that loom over their land. Back in the grim farmhouse of her youth, Agnes is drawn into the strange legacy she tried to leave behind. When she discovers an abandoned nest in the barn, she becomes consumed by a scientific and deeply personal experiment to breed a crow large and intelligent enough to carry her daughter Mina to a freedom Agnes has never known herself. As the bird grows, so does its terrifying potential, manifest in language, cunning, and a violent will of its own. What begins as a gesture of love and liberation turns darkly obsessive, echoing the dangerous ambition of Frankenstein's monster and the generational trauma buried in the soil of her family's past. It is a feminist novel about mothers and daughters, inheritance and isolation, and the thin line between care and control. Confronts themes of self-harm and self-preservation, as well as memory and myth, in a narrative as visceral and uncanny as the bird that rises at its heart. I don't know, it sounds weird and interesting, and then also like it's going to have some important messaging throughout. I love anything that deals with like familial generational trauma, so I'm very excited to be reading that one. Next, of course, we have Wretch, or The Unbecoming of Porcelain Ka by Eric LaRocca, one of my favorite horror authors. This is set to be published March 24th, 2026. After his husband dies, Simeon Link finds himself overcome by grief and seeking comfort in an unusual support group called the Wretches, who offer an addictive and dangerous source of relief. They introduce Simeon to a curious figure known as Porcelain Ka, a man with the ability to let those who are grieving have one last intimate moment with their beloved for a price. Hallucinatory, fiendish, and destructively beautiful, Wretch transports us to a world where not everything is as it seems, and those we love may be the ones who haunt us most. Anything Eric LaRocca puts out, I'm going to read, although I didn't really love his most recent release. I'm still looking forward to that one. Next up, we have one by Monica Kim, who is the author of The Eyes Are the Best Part, which I know a lot of people loved. I was not the biggest fan of it, but I am still interested to see what else she has to say as far as horror goes. This one is called Molka, which is the Korean term for spy cameras secretly and illegally installed, often to capture voyeuristic images and videos. I feel like I'm going to mispronounce these characters' names, so I'm just going to call them D and H and then figure out how they're actually pronounced later when I read the book. D can't believe her luck when she finds herself in a whirlwind romance with handsome, charismatic H, the heir to a multi-million-dollar fortune. But then a shocking revelation threatens. The couple has been caught on a spy cam amid Korea's growing molka epidemic, and the video is all over the internet. When H flees the country to avoid the intense public scrutiny, D is left to grapple with the ramifications on her own, and the demons from her childhood, long dormant, begin to surface. Amid the chaos, she catches the attention of J, a nerdy, introverted IT tech at work. J harbors a dark secret. He has been spying on the women at work with his own hidden cameras. As Dee's life begins to unravel, she unknowingly becomes the sole target of Jay's perverse obsession. When the facts surrounding the invasion of her privacy come to light, Dee is faced with the humiliating truth. Her pain and hurt turn to rage as she faces her past. Her desire for vengeance is insatiable, and she will not rest until the men who have wronged her have paid in blood. So again, it sounds like it's going to have some feminist undertones. I know there was a lot of social commentary in Monica Kim's last novel that I really enjoyed, and I'm sure we're going to get more of that in this one. I also really like the cover. I think it's really creepy and definitely draws you into the story. Next up is another one from Marcus Cleaver, who is the author of We Used to Live Here, which of course blew up in the online book space. I really enjoyed that. So this one is called The Caretaker. Exciting opportunity. Caregiver for elderly husband urgently needed. Competitive pay. Serious applicants only. If interested, please contact blank. As a down-on-her-luck college grad saddled with a disturbing amount of debt, Macy Mullins can't say why the Craigslist posting grabbed her attention. It had all the flair of a fisherman's lure, barbed hook and all. But after an endless string of failed job interviews, she's not exactly in the position to be picky. She has rent to pay and a younger sister to provide for. Unable to turn down a paycheck, she takes the job. She quickly discovers that her responsibilities have stakes far greater and more dangerous than she could ever have imagined. I'm very, very excited for this one. I hope that it has some of the same weirdness and surreal qualities as We Used to Live Here. It sounds really creepy and ominous, and I just can't wait to read this one. This is expected to come out April 21st, 2026. Next is one that of course drew me in because this cover is gorgeous. This is Wife-Shaped Bodies by Laura Cranehill. This is expected to be published April 14th of 2026. Forbidden from leaving her house from girlhood until marriage, Nicole has only her mother's lessons and what she can see from her bedroom window to draw on in forming her view of the world and of herself. Taught that the mushrooms which cover the women in her village are repulsive and dangerous, she conforms to a rigid set of rules to protect herself and those around her. When her wedding day arrives, Nicole moves from one prison to another, an empty mansion on the very outskirts of town belonging to the husband she's been promised to since birth. As she haunts the edges of Silas's unknowable life and decaying home, maintaining control over her own transforming body becomes increasingly impossible. And when another wife with rebellious tendencies pays Nicole an unexpected visit, something within her cracks open. Their furtive explorations yield confusing answers, unearthing the long-buried secrets of the generations of resentful brides that came before. Unmoored, angry, and at last awakened, Nicole must reckon with who she really is, and perhaps give in to what she truly wants. It says it is an exploration of gender, power, and community through the lens of mycological body horror and an ode to the unsettling beauty of the natural world. It's also tagged as queer and lesbian, so that sounds really, really fun. Love body horror, love like eco horror, stuff that has to do with mushrooms and plants. It also clearly definitely is a feminist horror, so I'm really, really excited for that one. The next one I have is Nothing Tastes as Good by Luke Dumas. This is expected to come out March 31st, 2026. I have not read anything from this author, but I've heard some mixed things about various other books that he has written. Retail worker Emmett has never fit the Southern California mold of six-pack, suntanned masculinity. Over 300 pounds, he carries the weight of his childhood trauma and millennial ennui around. That's how you say that word, right? Ennui? Okay, anyways, around his waist and in his soul. After trying every diet under the sun, he remains stuck in his dead-end job, in love, and in his body. Desperate for help, he enrolls in a clinical trial for a new weight loss product called Obexity. The treatment is as horrifying as the results are miraculous, and as Emmett sheds pounds at superhuman speed, every part of his life improves overnight. Unfortunately, Obexity comes with some killer side effects, including lost stretches of time and overwhelming cravings. Worse, people who were cruel to him have started disappearing, and when the police warn of a cannibalistic killer on the loose, he fears that Obexity is turning him into a monster. But how can he give it up now that people are finally starting to treat him like he's human? Again, I think there's going to be some heavy commentary in this one. It also is definitely giving some vampire vibes, so excited for that. Next, I have one that is kind of like a horror sci-fi. I really like this cover as well. It is called For Human Use by Sarah G. Pierce, and this is expected to publish February 10th of 2026. This synopsis is so confusing, at least to me, because I'm like, what the heck is this? Life with a living partner can be tricky, but the #1 dating app in the world, Live, offers a solution. Date a corpse. Romantic relationships mean having tough conversations and rough patches. An embalmed body, well, they've got no opinions, desires, or complex emotional responses. What was once taboo is now a booming business. At the heart of this deranged app are 3 living, breathing humans who all feel quite differently about the new world they've built. Tom is the venture capitalist rock star who's mortified he's funding the whole thing. Auden is Liv's visionary founder who's ready to see his app succeed no matter what. And Mara is Auden's stepsister, who has inadvertently found herself entrenched in a tech business she has no interest in. Forging a business relationship based on a dating app for corpses is one thing, but finding love in a world now obsessed with death will prove almost impossible. Like I said, I don't really know what I'm going to be getting myself into with this one, but it sounds so intriguing that I need to pick this up. This next one sounds really, really interesting as well. This is called Meat Bees by Dane Urbach. First of all, the cover, absolutely stunning. I love this cover so much. This one is a later 2026 release, expected to come out August 4th, and the one sentence tagline just calls it Jaws with Wasps. And I feel like that's all I need to know. By the time Scarlett Sutton arrives at her dad's cabin in the Smoky Mountains, 2 locals have already been eaten alive by wasps. Of course, she doesn't know this yet. All Scarlett knows is her mom finally checked herself into a hospital to take care of her mental health, leaving Scarlett alone with her dad all summer. After he insists that she get a job, Scarlett accepts a position at nearby Stovetop Outfitters, hoping to spend as much time away from him as possible. She doesn't expect to trip over a skeletonized corpse beneath the zip line during one of her shifts, and definitely doesn't expect to be thrown into a Netflix-style true crime investigation. The local sheriff's department is so overwhelmed by these unsolved deaths that when one of the Stovetop Outfitters employees disappears next, Scarlett and her coworkers set out to find him on their own. They discover something much more horrifying, a swarm of yellow jackets stripping the meat off his body. Scarlett never signed up to solve a disgusting mystery, but in order to protect her friends and family, she must defeat the mountain's darkness and all those godforsaken wasps. So it doesn't say on here, but I'm thinking maybe depending on the age of Scarlett herself, this maybe is a young adult book. But regardless, that sounds so fascinating. The next one I have does not have a cover yet, as far as I know. This is Headlights by CJ Lead, author of Mayfly and American Rapture. This one is expected to come out June 9th, 2026. Today is supposed to be the first day of the rest of Detective Daniel Stanfield's life. He's making moves, the kind that will take him far away from his lonely apartment and his lonesome past. But before he can finish packing, he's summoned to Denver, the city he fled from 5 years ago, with one chilling: he's back. What? Oh, I guess, okay. I think I know what's happening. The killer that Daniel couldn't catch. The killer who took 8 lives in 1 year, who left carnage and destruction in his path and then suddenly stopped. The gruesome cycle has begun anew, and he's taking victims faster than before. The FBI are desperate to get Daniel back on the case, and he reluctantly agrees. As the investigation evolves, Daniel's world collides with Hannah's, a park ranger who has been swept into the chaos. Soon they find themselves entangled in a web of suspicion as clues point back to his traumatic childhood and one fatal night in the Happy Inn. Daniel must confront his ghosts and unravel the truth before he becomes the next victim. This sounds interesting because it sounds like a little bit different from what CJ Lead has written before. We have a male main character, which is interesting. So those are all the ones that I personally have put on my TBR. Now I'm going to get into a few more that I am slightly intrigued by, but I'm not 100% convinced if I should read them yet. So let me know if any of these end up on your TBR. And I will look out for your reviews. So the first one I have is called Crawl Space by Adam Christopher. Looks like this is a horror sci-fi, and it is expected to publish March 17th of 2026. Mission lead Olivia O'Connor and her team from the Artemis Corporation, along with their military liaison, are in the final preparations for an undertaking that will alter the course of the first faster than light, maybe humanity, the first faster than light test flight that finally opening up the expanse. Wait, am I stupid? This doesn't make sense. An undertaking that will alter the course of the first faster than light test flight that finally opening up the expanse of the universe. That sentence doesn't make sense. I read the synopsis somewhere else and it made sense when I read it, and this does, I don't know. There's like a, sometimes I know when synopses get put on like Goodreads, certain things will get messed up and like words will get taken out for some reason. I don't know. Their journey between dimensions is one they never trained for. Strange voices in the corridors, long lost faces not forgotten, strange symbols carved into the hull, and gathering outside the ship, ancient forces beyond reckoning. The crew will need all their skills to survive and uncover the twisted truth behind their mission. So, horror sci-fi, and weird things happening in space, if that's what you're into. This next one is called The Wind Witch Murders by Casey Dunn, expected to be published January 6th of 2026. 1999 Arkansas. Being the daughter of a witch and alleged murderer isn't easy. Yet Raven has carried that burden for the 12 years since her mother Deanne was locked away for the apparent ritualized murder of 2 boys, murders she never admitted to. Now Deanne is dead, the truth buried with her. When a stranger appears at her funeral to place a feather on her casket, Raven realizes the mystery of her mother is still alive and well. But as she looks harder into Deanne's past, more lies about her own life surface. Lies that drag her to the infamous cult at the edge of town that Deanne once belonged to. As Raven connects the secrets surrounding the cult, the infamous Wind Witch murders, and her mother's death, she finds herself in incredible danger. So this one, it looks like is leaning a little bit into the mystery territory. The next one is a graphic novel, so if that's your thing. This is called Pig Wife by Abby Luck. Mary had a bad feeling even before they arrived at dead Aunt Pearl's house. Dragged to a remote mining town so her mom and stepdad can settle Pearl's estate, Mary can't wait to escape from her wreck of a family, but she's stuck with them in the middle of nowhere. After a vicious fight, Mary runs off to hide in an abandoned gold mine. Her escape plan backfires when she realizes she's trapped inside. Even more terrifying, she's not alone. Filled with suspense, dark humor, and spectacular nightmares, Pig Wife is a shockingly ambitious debut from graphic novelist Abby Luck. It says it is a story of isolation, abuse, trauma, and survival, and it is also described as a coming-of-age tale. The next one is a fantasy horror. This is The Fox and the Devil by Kiersten White. I have read and enjoyed from Kiersten White before. I just am not sure if I should pick this one up. This is expected to come out March 10th. Aneki, I don't know if that's how you say that, has a complicated relationship with her father, Abraham Van Helsing, doctor, scientist, and madman devoted to studying vampires. Up until the night she comes home to find him murdered, with a surreally beautiful woman looming over his body. A woman who leaves no trace behind other than dreams and nightmares that plague Aneki every night. Spurred by her desire for vengeance and armed with the latest in forensic and investigatory techniques, Aneki puts together a team of detectives to catch her mysterious serial killer. Because her father isn't the only inexplicably dead body. There's a trail of victims across Europe, and Aneki is certain they're all connected. But during the years spent relentlessly hunting the killer, Aneki keeps some crucial evidence to infuriatingly coy letters addressed only to Aneki, occasionally soaked in blood, and always signed Diavola, Devil. The obsession is mutual and all the more dangerous for it. The closer she gets to her devil, though, the less sense the world makes. Maybe her father wasn't a madman after all. Diavola might be something much worse than a serial killer, and much harder to destroy, because as Aneki unearths more of Diavola's tragic past, she suspects there's still a heart somewhere in that undead body. A heart that beats for Aneki alone. Ooh, so maybe it's gonna be a little bit romantic. Okay, maybe I should pick it up because it's like vampires. The next one I have is called Accumulation by Amy Pakwatka. Don't know if that's how you pronounce it. This is expected to come out May 5th of 2026. When documentary filmmaker turned stay-at-home mom Tennessee Cherish moves into the dream house her husband bought for her, a brighter future seems to be on the horizon. Even if her husband is frustratingly absent due to his new high-paying job, even if their 2 young children begin acting out in strange ways, even if she feels lonelier than ever. Distracted by the endless details that come with moving into a new town, a new house, and new schools, Ten doesn't notice when odd things begin happening at home. The faucet that runs at all hours, the creepy doll that seems to show up in every room, the human tooth they found in the floorboards. As the kids' outbursts and the strange events start to escalate, the family finds themselves increasingly caught in loops, repeating everyday actions with dangerous and then devastating effects. Ten realizes she must find the source of what is haunting her family before it kills them all. The next one I have is a book called Dig by J.H. Markert. 8 years ago, a boy took up an axe and slaughtered a dozen people. That odd, troubled boy, Jericho Dodd, has been dead and buried in his father's yard for years, but ever since that massacre, Crow Island has been a dark and unsettling place. When Jericho's father begins digging up the past he buried, a compulsion to dig sweeps over the island, and soon everyone else is obsessively churning up dirt, desperate to uncover buried secrets. The compulsion leads to violence, and as neighbors turn against each other, the island's famous Tupelo honey, harvested from trees deep in a swamp, changes too. As dread and paranoia seep up from the ground, it becomes clear that the island itself needs something from its residents before it digs itself apart for good. Be careful what you unearth from the dirt before this surreal horror novel can worm its way into you too. This one actually does sound really interesting. Maybe I will add this to my TBR. Next up is one that I absolutely love the cover of. I don't know, I'm just not fully sold on the synopsis right now. This is Cruelty Free by Caroline Glenn, expected to be published February 3rd of 2026. 10 years ago, Lila Devlin was an A-list actress with a movie star husband and a beautiful baby girl, Josie. When Josie was kidnapped out of her home and never seen again, Lila's previously pristine public image twisted into that of an unfit mother. Driven mad by the hungry press, incompetent cops, and relentless true crime-obsessed fans, she disappeared into anonymity. Now Lila returns to LA with a grand vision for a radical new skincare brand to reinvent herself and honor Josie's legacy. She prepared to move into the next chapter of her life with forgiveness in her heart when an encounter with a parasitic blogger ends with him dead. Lila suddenly discovers forgiveness isn't nearly as satisfying as a body hitting the floor. With the help of her devoted publicist Sylvie, Lila begins a relentless, blood-soaked hunt through LA. Giving her skincare the edge it needs, they introduce a secret ingredient, revenge-sourced, from the bodies piling up. But as the company's success skyrockets and Lila begins unraveling the truth behind her daughter's kidnapping, her murderous side hustle threatens the life she's painstakingly rebuilt. Okay, I'm gonna add this to my TBR. I don't know why. I think I just wasn't sold on the synopsis before because I've read a few other books that kind of like are like, ooh, beauty, wellness based, and actually there's like a secret ingredient and it's like dead people. But that one, I feel like it sounds like there's more things going on within the plot. It sounds like it could be really interesting. Next is a book called You Should Have Been Nicer to My Mom by Vincent Tirado. This is expected to come out March 10th of 2026. When Papi Ramon, the patriarch of the wealthy Abreu family, dies, he gives the family one last message in the "One of you is El Baca, the demon that I made a deal with. Get rid of them or you will be damned." While the lawyer drives back to his office, a storm breaks out, forcing the entire family to remain in the house, and the words of Papi's will hangs over their heads even heavier than the rain clouds. Over the course of the night, scandal after scandal is revealed to the public about the family. Suddenly, a tense few hours of surviving her family turns into a vicious night of reclamation, violence, accusations, and murder. I don't know. I'm not totally sold on this one. A haunting, but not really a haunting. Has to do with demons, family trauma, and drama, I'm sure. The next one we have is called These Familiar Walls by CJ Dotson. In 1998, desperate loneliness pushes preteen Amber to ignore the misgivings of her family, particularly her younger sister, when she befriends the troubled new kid in the neighborhood. A boy with dead eyes, a fascination with fire, and no remorse. Their turbulent relationship is brief but creates lasting consequences. 22 years later, in 2020, he resurfaces to kill Amber's parents and is in turn betrayed by his accomplice and killed in Amber's childhood home. After the deaths, Amber inherits the house and, in an effort to save money, moves in with her husband and 2 children, hoping to reclaim some sense of stability in the grief and chaos surrounding her. Instead, she finds that the familiar walls are haunted by more than just bitter memories and lockdown stress. She shifts in and out of dreamlike trances, her reflection won't blink, and a menacing voice whispers to her from the gathering shadows. Although she tried to brush off the strange happenings as stress-fueled hallucinations, Amber is soon forced to admit that something much more real and more dangerous haunts her family. But Amber has deadly secrets of her own, and she must resolve these long-buried truths or lose the life she's contrived for herself. That sounds wild. Like, that plot setup is crazy. Her childhood friend comes back to kill her parents and then ends up getting killed in her house, and then she moves into it. That's wild. Okay, the last one I have is called Mother is Watching by Karma Brown. This is expected to publish March 17th of 2026. Mathilda Tilly Cruson, a 39-year-old mother and art conservator, is tasked with restoring The Mother. The painting, believed to be the work of a female surgeon turned artist after a personal tragedy, is the rumored 4th piece in a collection of only 3 known works. But this newly discovered painting, scarred by fire, holds more than meets the eye. Soon after receiving the painting, Tilly discovers she's unexpectedly pregnant. Almost immediately, strange, inexplicable things begin. Terrifying insect swarms, eerie visits from her long-deceased mother, and sinister whispers that invade her mind. As these malevolent forces intensify, the only way to sever the perilous bond she shares with the painting is to destroy it. But the mother has plans of her own, and they're darker than Tilly could ever imagine. So, like a haunted painting, maybe? So those are all of the horror books that I have to tell you guys about today. For thrillers, there are only a few that I am really interested in. I think I'm just more particular with, I don't know, the thrillers that I pick up. The first one is Her Last Breath by Taylor Adams, which is expected to publish February 17th of 2026. I'm excited for this because I really loved, The Last Word, and then also No Exit by Taylor Adams, and I've been anxiously awaiting a new release. After years of excuses, Tess has finally agreed to go caving with her best friend Alma. Their lives have diverged sharply since high school. Alma is a self-made travel influencer, while Tess is a shy and claustrophobic legal assistant struggling to pay for law school. Maybe she's a little jealous of Alma's globe-trotting life. Who wouldn't be? As Tess and Alma descend into the depths, they realize they're not alone. A stranger who claims to be a fellow caver harasses them. Confident, take-no-shit Alma insults the guy, and he retaliates. Soon, Tess is trapped inside a narrow crawl space hundreds of feet underground, fighting to stay alive. 24 hours later, as a hospitalized Tess recounts her harrowing story of survival, the detective interviewing her shares new and shocking secrets about Alma's true past. Together, they begin to suspect the brutal attack wasn't so random after all. Who was Alma really? Why did this man target them? And did Tess really leave the danger behind when she escaped the cave? So that sounds really interesting. First of all, like caving, spelunking, whatever in general sounds so freaky. I'm so excited to read that. And then also it sounds like there's going to be a little bit more to it than just that. The next one I have is Warning Signs by Tracy Sierra, which is expected to come out February 10th. There's a lot of February 10th releases, 2026. This is the author of Night Watching, which was a thriller that I mostly enjoyed reading. when that came out, so I'm excited for this one. 12-year-old Zach is cautiously optimistic. His father Bram, whose business is in dire need of cash, has put together a father-son backcountry ski weekend to wine and dine his biggest investors. Schooled in outdoor survival by his mother, Zach is eager to prove himself to the hypercritical Bram. Maybe if Zach shows how useful he is, he can earn his father's love. But Zach knows to be on high alert around Bram, and he sees the way the group ignores the increasingly threatening conditions. For the first time in his beloved mountains, he is faced with the unknown, convinced that something watches their cabin from the tree line, something that leaves behind strange tracks and picks its prey clean. As the adults recklessly test the limits of the outdoors, Zach worries he might be in even more danger than he realized. Could the men around him prove more violent than the unforgiving weather and the strange creature lurking in the dark? Zach will have to rely on his wits if he hopes to make it home safely, but he knows all too well that the wilderness can be unpredictable even at the best of times, and at the worst, deadly. That sounds so fascinating. Any synopsis that mentions like a strange creature lurking in the woods, I'm like, sign me up. I'm gonna read this. And especially that it's gonna be like a snowy, atmospheric read. I think that will be really, really fun to pick up. Next one, this is tagged as horror and thriller, so I guess it could go in the horror category. This is called Dollface by Lindy Ryan. It is described as Barbie meets Scream with a 90s nostalgia twist. Horror author Jill has just moved to suburban New Jersey, hoping to fit in with the new PTA moms and maybe not weird everyone out with her final girl coffee mug. You know, make some real friends. But then a plastic face mask serial killer begins slashing their way through town, one overly made-up mom at a time. The police are incredulous, the moms are indignant, and Jill is slowly wrapped into a killer's murderous spree until she might be the last woman standing. A delightfully murderous novel that is equal parts scathing and salacious, Dollface will win you over with its gossip and gore, one body at a time. The next one I have is called Femme Feral by Sam Bessinger. My gosh. The head of a company she started from the ground up, the worried mother of a troublingly secretive daughter, and the wife of an easygoing man who always has her picking up the slack, Ellie is already juggling too much. So it's an inconvenient time to find herself beset by strange physical hair sprouting in new places, running hot, trouble sleeping, losing time, finding bloodstains in all her clothing, and underneath it all, a boiling rage that threatens to disrupt the life she's worked so hard to build. Her doctor diagnoses perimenopause, but it's another 28-day cycle that's taking hold, one that involves fur, teeth, and a not insignificant amount of howling at the moon. And that gives Ellie incredible strength and speed. Her new power's thrilling, as it is releasing the anger she's suppressed for years, especially as it turns out that there are some problems that can be solved with the terrible new hire who is sabotaging her careful plans, the creep who's stalking her daughter. Only, the beast within isn't easy to control, and its bloody trail is getting harder to hide. With an obsessive hunter on her trail and a growing fear of what she's becoming, Ellie must find a way to yoke her fury before she tears through the people she loves. Oh my god, why was that so difficult for me to read? This is expected to come out May 12th. I love me a good transformation book, a werewolf book about motherhood, so definitely gonna pick that one up. So those four are definitely in my want to read. They are on my radar. The rest of them I'm not 100% sold on, but if I do see some good reviews for any of them, maybe I'll pick them up. This first one is called The Only One Who Knows by Lisa M. Matlin. Minnow Greenwood, previously known for stealing her way into the hearts of viewers as Melbourne's #1 morning show host, is now back in her small hometown of Kangaroo Bay. After a horrifying and unexpected episode, she has no choice but to join her estranged brother in their family business of shark fishing. For an insomniac like Minnow, the work is strangely thrilling. There's something alluring about the dark water at night, something exciting, grimy. And maybe it's not even so bad reconnecting with her brother, who's the only person who ever saw her for herself. But the last thing she expects to surface on the beach is a human body. Kangaroo Bay is a town quietly brimming with rage towards invasive tourists and a host to a disquieting number of shark attacks. Except the media soon discovers that the victim was declared missing weeks before and was long dead before they even entered the water. When the journalist in Minnow kicks back into drive, she discovers something for over 40 years. She discovers something. For over 40 years, there have been a steady number of missing persons around the area, including her own father's disappearance 10 years ago. So, kind of a murder mystery. Next up, we have Too Close to Home by Serafina Nova Glass. This is expected to come out on April 14th. Those lucky enough to live in the elite lakefront community of Clover Hill Lakes are drawn to it for its safety and top-notch school district. The moms meet for coffee at the park while their kids play. They're heavily involved in the PTA, and the summers are filled with Chardonnay, brunch, sundresses, and backyard bonfires. But everything changes when Reagan Hoffman's car explodes at the annual Labor Day party. The wrong person is killed, but it was meant for her. As the carefully crafted walls of her community begin to crumble, Reagan tries to keep it together, something made infinitely harder when she sees her dead husband alive. Next, we have The Storm by Rachel Hawkins. This is expected to publish on January 6th. St. Medard's Bay, Alabama is famous for three. The deadly hurricanes that regularly sweep into town. Famous for three things. The deadly hurricanes that regularly sweep into town, the Rosalie Inn, a century-old hotel that survived every one of those storms, and Lo Bailey, the local girl infamously accused of the murder of her lover during Hurricane Marie in 1984. When Geneva Corliss, the current owner of the Rosalie Inn, hears a writer is coming to town to research the crime that put the town on the map, she's less interested in solving a whodunit than in how a successful true crime book might help the struggling inn's bottom line. But to her surprise, August Fletcher doesn't come to St. Medard's Bay alone. With him is none other than Lo Bailey herself. Lo says she's returned to her hometown to clear her name once and for all. But the closer Geneva gets to both Lo and August, the more she wonders if Lo is actually back to settle old scores. Next up, I really like this cover. This is called Indie Darling by Lauren Nosset, and this is expected to publish July 28th of 2026. Kelly Williams helps women. Sisters in search of lost siblings, wives determined to uncover affairs, daughters haunted by men lingering outside their windows. Clients trust her because she listens, she believes them, and over the years she's honed a specialized skill set. Kelly is a Dolly Parton-loving, sports car driving private investigator in Nashville, Tennessee. Her latest client, Sarah Faith Owens, comes to her after receiving threatening messages. Something about the woman feels familiar, and Kelly realizes she's Seraph, the magnetic, polarizing lead singer of the indie music sensation The Garden Snakes. With feminist anthems, cryptic lyric Easter eggs, and an electrifying stage presence, Seraph has built a fiercely loyal following and attracted a number of critics. At that level of fame, her stalker could be anyone. Then, in the middle of a Nashville performance, Seraph is shot on stage, and the ambulance carrying her disappears. As the city reels and conspiracy theories swirl, Kelly is pulled into a dangerous web of secrets involving Seraph's bandmates, her troubled past, and the high cost of stardom. That one actually sounds really interesting, so I will be looking for early reviews of that to see if it's something I should pick up. Next is The Secret Lives of Murderers' Wives by Elizabeth Arnett. This is expected to publish March 3rd, 2026. Beverly, Elsie, and Margot are not your average housewives. They are all wives of convicted killers. During the sun-drenched summer of 1966, the three women form an unlikely friendship after the discoveries of their husbands' brutal crimes. With their exes dead or behind bars, they are attempting to forge a new future for themselves. They know people look at them and think only one thing. How could they not have known when their husbands were right under their noses, committing horrific crimes? How much guilt is theirs to carry? And yet, when a string of killings hits the news, the three women decide to get to work. After all, who better to catch a killer than those who have shared their lives and homes with one? Next, we have Greedy by Kali Kazumi. I think this cover is so fun. Ed's in trouble with the Yakuza? I don't know if that's how you say that. He's gambled away all his money and his family is at risk. But just as he's about to lose everything, he receives an offer he can't refuse. A reclusive billionaire is looking for a private chef. The only thing is, she has some unusual tastes. As he prepares delicious dishes, he realizes that each meal is a test, a challenge to satisfy an insatiable appetite. Caught up in a world more sinister than he could ever have imagined, Ed finds himself entangled in another debt. As the stakes grow, he must make a choice. Will he stay hungry or will he be greedy? Dinner is served, eat up. Next, we have Escape by Stephen Fishbach. This is expected to be published January 27th. Kent Duvall, a fated reality show winner, just wants another chance at glory, to find his way out of his depressing life and back to his highlight reel. When a scandal is captured on camera at a charity event, he gets his shot on a new jungle survival show with 7 other contestants. Each of them has been cast as a type, but everyone is more than they appear. The contestants' goals seem simple: survive the wild, build a raft, win treasure. But Beck Berman, a reality producer who suffered her own public shaming, sees them as characters in her redemption arc. As the schemes and strategies spiral out, breakout camps sabotage each other, and rival producers struggle to control the storyline. Soon the question becomes less about who will win than who will make it out in one piece. So if you are a fan of like reality show books, maybe this is one to keep an eye out for. The next one we have is Out of the Loop by Katie Siegel. This is expected to publish February 10th. Again with February 10th. For the past 2 years, Amy Teller has been stuck in a time loop. Each day she wakes up and it's September 17th. Same day, same weather, same people, same conversations. Until one day, it's September 18th and Amy is free. Before she can celebrate, Amy learns her neighbor was murdered the day before, the day Amy has lived hundreds of times. Amy knows she has to help. Nobody knows yesterday like she does. But acclimating to her new, non-repeating life proves to be more difficult than expected. How does one resume their life after a time loop anyway? Assisted by an ex-girlfriend who wants to make their friendship work, and a grumpy neighbor who spends his day building Rube Goldberg machines, Amy sets out to track down who killed Savannah Harlow. Next, I think this is another kind of cozy, maybe silly mystery. Safari Murder Party by Rachel Moore, expected to be published May 19th of 2026. Fletcher Spence is dying for a promotion, and her colleagues are more than happy to oblige. After 3 years working 70-hour weeks as an assistant to the most terrifying CEO in the magazine world, Fletcher finally finagled a spot on Cartwright Media's annual corporate retreat, a famously luxurious week on the Cartwrights' private island, where promotions are handed out like party favors. And her plan to snag her dream job as a travel magazine photographer was going great until her boss's dramatic death reveals his last will and testament. Whoever survives the week will inherit the company. So now she's stuck on her billionaire boss's safari park island, surrounded by wild animals and on the run from coworkers who have swapped coffee cups for machetes and briefcases for hunting rifles. I'm going to leave it there. There's like 2 more paragraphs to read, but I feel like that gives a good idea. It does sound like it's going to be kind of fun and silly, so I hope that this finds the right audience for it. The next one we have is called You've Lost That Livin' Feeling by Nicholas George, expected to be published on January 6th. Adam's wild days as a drummer in a rock band are far behind him. Now semi-retired and running a record store in the sleepy town of Cordoba on the mid-California coast, life is considerably calmer with pleasant surprises such as winning a Lifetime Achievement Award. There's plenty of life left in Adam yet, though sadly the same can't be said of a Righteous Brother tribute artist, Barry Haddon, whose dead body is discovered by Adam outside a nightclub. Suddenly Adam discovers an exciting new hobby, sleuthing. Is a knife-wielding robber terrorizing the locals responsible for Barry's murder? As panic and confusion sweeps through the town, Adam can't rule anything or anyone out. Unfortunately, his meddling may mean that he'll qualify for that Lifetime Achievement Award sooner than he thought. So I think this is going to be like a cozy small town mysteries. It says it is the first in a series. So if you like the cozy mysteries, and I think this is definitely going to be very music focused, taking place at a record store, that might be kind of fun. We have another January 6th release. This is Wreck Your Heart by Lori Raider Day. Dahlia Doll Divine had the kind of hardscrabble beginning that could launch 1,000 broken-hearted country songs. But now she's the star of her own stage at McPhee's Tavern. As part of Chicago's country music scene, Dahlia is an up-and-coming singer in spangles and boots of classic country tunes. Up and coming, that is, until her boyfriend Joey up and went, taking the rent money with him. So Dahlia is back to square one, relying on Alex McPhee again. Alex helped her out of a bad situation when she was a kid living rough with her mother. Now he's part landlord, part band booster, all-around rescuer. It's just that Dahlia wishes she didn't keep giving him reasons to have to do it. Just as Dahlia suspects she scraped rock bottom, the mother she hasn't spoken to in 20 years shows up with something to say. The next morning, a distraught young woman arrives at the bar, asking after her missing mother. Dahlia's mother, too. Even if the missing suburban PTA mom the girl describes sounds pretty different from the one who let Dahlia down all those years ago. Though no one is using the word sister anytime soon, Dahlia lets herself be drawn into reuniting the family that might have been hers. But when a body is discovered outside McPhee's Tavern, the crime threatens not just the place Dahlia has made into a home, but everything she's believed about her past, her dreams of her future, and people she was just maybe beginning to let into her heart. So I guess another music-focused mystery, but she also discovers that her mother is not just her mother? I don't know. Sounds interesting. Okay, the final two that I have seem like they are mystery and romance mix. Without a Clue by Melissa Ferguson is the first one. This is expected to publish on February 17th. So there is a big book cruise featuring the fabulous seven celebrated authors from different genres who have supported each other through thick and thin. One boat, hundreds of devoted readers, and 7 big personalities. What could possibly go wrong? On the second day of the cruise, Hugh is found murdered. In the face of gross incompetence by the onboard security force, Pip realizes she'll need to be the one to discover who did it. And so she teams up with this other guy there, and it's kind of a silly, fun, mystery romance. And last but not least, we have A Zoom with a View by Jess Cannon, which is expected to come out on May 5th of 2026. Leo can't believe she's back in Blue Oak. Her small, quirky Texas hometown feels suffocating after trying to make it big as an English professor in New York. With Leo's career in academia in shambles, at least she's able to work as a photographer for her godmother's real estate business, and her best friend Emily is around to help her navigate through the mess, and maybe force her to reconnect with her old high school boyfriend, Mac. While at work, Leo makes a grisly discovery at one of her godmother's properties, the dead body of a rival real estate agent and social media influencer, Chaz. Even worse, Leo and Emily have been secretly running a snarky Reddit page making fun of Chaz's cringe-inducing advice and duck-face selfies. When someone she loves is accused of the murder, Leo finds herself flung headfirst into a dangerous investigation, teaming up with a local detective who is a lot more attractive than she remembered when they were both teenagers. So, another cozy murder mystery with a little bit of a romantic element, if that is something that you're looking for. So that is everything that I have to give you guys today. Let me know down below if you plan on picking up any of these books. With all of that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you next time.